Aquarius, this is your May 2013 forecast. This month we're going to have there's going to be some change. We're going to have a couple of eclipses. One is a solar eclipse on the 9th of May, and the other is a lunar eclipse on the 25th of May. And eclipses tend to have a longer lasting influence, sometimes 6 months to a year. Sometimes you don't see the effect until a month after the actual eclipse, and sometimes it can have an influence of about 4 or 5 days before or after the actual eclipse date. So just know that it's kind of a wider range within these eclipses, and since you have 2 this month, they tend to initiate change in your life. So this could be a pretty pivotal month of the year, and some interesting things going on. They also have to do with the moon, which is an emotional planet. So you might find that around the eclipses are a more emotional time. Solar eclipses tend to initiate the beginning of something, and lunar eclipses tend to initiate the ending or culmination of something. So you might find that some kind of project is coming to a close with regards to whatever house that's in. And you also want to check your ascendant sign as well as your sun sign. Everyone knows about their sun sign. You know, I was born at this time, so that's what I am. But if you know your chart, you will know your ascendant sign. And that tends to be a little bit more true to what goes on in your environment and kind of the external things that happen. Your sun sign is more internal, and your goals and your dreams and what goes on kind of in your head, whereas your ascendant is more what goes on in the environment around you. So check both of those. So the solar eclipse on the 9th of May will be in your 4th house. Your 4th house is the house of home, family, and property. And that, in my opinion, this is a great eclipse to have in this part of your chart, because it's not really negatively aspected by anything major. It's could signify the beginning of a new project around your home or with your family, or maybe you're buying or selling a property or leasing. This is a great time to do it. Start this. It's a longer lasting influence, and even if it just has to do with some kind of family project that you're working on, this is a really good time to get that started. But you'll probably see some kind of major change going on, a move, a renovation project, a construction project. This would be a good time to get that started. And there is a lunar eclipse on the 25th, which will be in your 11th house. Your 11th house tends to do with groups, networking, acquaintances. It's definitely more of an outgoing part of your chart. So it's not just you, it's you involved with others. And so maybe you're seeing some kind of project with that come to an end. Maybe you were working on some kind of charity, and that's now, you're closing the chapter on that and moving on to a different project. It could also just have to do with friends. So maybe you are cutting ties with someone, and maybe something that once worked for you, or some kind of relationship or friendship that you thought was beneficial, maybe you're no longer thinking that way, and you're ready to kind of move on and cut ties and move on to someone that's more supportive, or a more supportive friendship and group for you. That lunar eclipse is negatively aspected by Neptune, and Neptune is a funny planet. It's a planet of illusion. Can seem very magical at first. Everything's wonderful, beautiful, things seem fantastic, and then sometimes we are deceived by Neptune. So whereas, and I'll just give you an example. I got married during a Neptune influence, and the person that I married I thought was wonderful, fantastic, great. And later when that influence wore off, I kind of realized that there was a lot that I believed that was very deceptive. So that's you just be careful about how you view this influence, and just make sure that don't initiate anything too drastic. Just wait until that influence is worn off, and you're thinking more clearly. And Neptune will be in your second house. Your second house is the house of income and possessions. So definitely this would not be the time to initiate a new investment. Put it on the back burner, or maybe even it's a new position where you're making more money. Just be clear that what you're seeing at the time, you will not later be deceived by. It might seem really wonderful and fantastic, and then later you might find out that it's really not all it was cracked up to be. So this is not, I don't know what your personal chart looks like, so I can't say this for sure. Just be very cautious about what you get into at that time. And that's on the 25th. Also, around the 20th of May, there's this crazy influence between Pluto and Uranus. These are big planets. They're heavy hitters. They don't move very quickly, so you will see this negative aspect between these two planets, which is very rare. And in the past, in history, where we've seen it, it has not been very pleasant. It has been during times of great turmoil. On a larger scale, it could be, political, global, international, national, some kind of turmoil or revolt against a more tyrannical or like a dictator. Some kind of influence that is trying to impress upon others, its rule, and it's really coming against some opposition or revolt. Hopefully that will not happen, and hopefully we'll only see this on a very minor scale, between maybe even some inner turmoil. And if you want to learn more about how that inner turmoil might play out, you can go to my website at astrologykiki.com, where I'll talk about the two houses that those planets are in and how that might affect Aquarius personally. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and hopefully it is not on a bigger scale. Especially since I'm on in a place where I've heard, could be a target. But so this is going from, this will be an interesting month, a month of change for sure. And it will be moving from the fourth house, influence in the first half in your house of family and home and property, very positively aspected, to kind of a darker side. It's interesting because there's more negative influence in the second half of May, but the second half of May is going to be on a really light part of your chart. So hopefully it won't be all that bad for Aquarius, because the second house is going to be more of a focus on fun and pleasure and in general. Fun, pleasure, children, and love and romance. So maybe that'll kind of mitigate the negative aspects that are going on, and hopefully you will get out and have that fun, great time, because the focus will change from your fourth house to your fifth house, and which tends to be a lighter time. It might just have some dark little days in there. And that's really it. That's your forecast for May. Thanks.